Hello everyone, welcome to the Political Vigilante. Guess what we're doing? So are you by watching the show. Thanks for coming over here to get your news and information. Hanging out there with the corporate media folks, getting all some sort of Russiagate hysteria. Speaking of Russiagate hysteria, Florida, Ron Placona and I are coming to you next week, January 9th. Gainesville, the 10th, Coral Gables, the 11th, Orlando, and the 12th, Jacksonville. Get your tickets at grahamelwood.com. So I read this as an op-ed piece in the Washington Post. Things really aren't that bad, but we like to think they are. Oh, guys, we're all in hysteria. Who said it? Who wrote this op-ed piece? Mitch Daniels, a Post-contributing columnist and president of Purdue University and former governor of Indiana. Mitch doesn't think things are that bad, guys. Maybe we're all being too crazy, right? Maybe the fact that you got to work 2-3 jobs just to keep your lights on, and that, you got to go to crowdfunding if you have a medical procedure, maybe that's you being hysterical. Human nature being as it is, every decade or two, someone has to write a book to set us straight and cheer us up. People are all too readily overlook astonishing improvements as they rapidly become parts of daily life and swallow uncritically assertions that disaster waits around the corner. The books are the works of scholarship, sometimes dry and sometimes sly, that debunk the doomsayers and remind us of how fortunate we are to be alive in these times. Yes, Mitch, life is a gift. There's a lot of positive stuff for us to focus on. I try to focus on positive stuff every day. Like, I could dwell on the fact that I had to go through bankruptcy and foreclosure. I dwell on the fact I got a roof over my head. I make money doing what I love. And, there's a lot of positive stuff there. Because I don't want to dwell on the fact that I don't really have a pension or retirement, because that got taken away from me from losing my home like another 5.2 million people did. But thank you, Mitch, for reminding us how fortunate we are to live in these times. I wonder how fortunate it is for people in Flint, Michigan who still have contaminated water, or, any of the people living below the poverty line, or how the United States has parts of the United States, a UN report showed, are in third world conditions. A lot of third world conditions up there in the governor's mansion or the president of a giant university. But lamentations of impending economic, social, environmental catastrophe grow back like pests on an organic farm, and the record of progress periodically needs to be reestablished. Let me explain something to you. Never before in history have we faced climate collapse. Economic, war, political turmoil, we've faced those things throughout history and have come back from them. But the last time the environment collapsed like this is when life got wiped out on the planet Earth. We don't know how it happened. Maybe it was a meteor, whatever. But 97% of all scientists agree that the Earth is collapsing. The oceans are dying. We have polluted air. We have polluted food. No, I don't want to just sit there and wallow in how bad everything is. I really tried not to do that from doing this show. But what world are you living in, dude? Demographer and author Ben J. Wittenberg took his turn in 1984 in the whimsical but fact-laden "The good news is the bad news is wrong." In 1984. In 1984, there wasn't a report that said we have 12 years to drastically get off of oil and reverse climate change, or otherwise by 1996 it'll be too late. There wasn't a report that had come out to say that. America wasn't in 8 wars in 1984. America hadn't gone through the worst recession since the Great Depression in 1984. It had had some recessions, some economic downturns, but that hadn't happened. Among his many bracing observations, the increased incidence of cancer wasn't a sign of an epidemic. It showed that people were living longer and not dying of other causes. So anybody that's ever lived near some sort of toxic waste dump that got cancer as a result of it, don't worry about it. It's the benefit of living longer. Back in the 1800s, did we have atomic energy waste? Did we have that in the 1800s? Did we? No? Oh, God. One by one, the author exposes alleged crises as overhyped, misrepresented, or in many cases just plain wrong. Deaths from war and genocide have plummeted. So hey, Yemen, don't worry about it. Syria, Somalia, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That new fascist guy that took over Brazil that wants to now burn the rainforest down, don't worry about it. Dakota Access, the pipeline keeps leaking. Don't worry about it. Just settle down. Everything's better. Genocide's plummeted. We're still participating. We're helping one happen in Yemen. Genuine poverty and Hungary are in steep decline, and famine has virtually disappeared. Famine has disappeared. Wow, economic inequality is vastly overstated in the United States and is shrinking dramatically worldwide. Life expectancy in the poorest country on earth is now 9 years greater than it was in the richest country 2 centuries ago. Let's check that. I Googled that, U.S. life expectancy. Here's the first article that popped up. U.S. life expectancy drops for 3rd year in a row, reflecting rising drug overdoses and suicides. Well, all you suicide people, just, read this fun book. Yeah. Read this fun book. Don't worry about it. The opioid epidemic, don't worry about it. 60% of the country doesn't have $1,000 in savings. Don't worry about it. Things are looking great. Mitch has got all the answers. And I Google, I search engined the global poverty rate. And look, it's hit a record low. Who reported it? Oh, the World Bank. Global poverty has dropped to a record low everywhere but the Middle East and North Africa. Don't worry about it. It's just where we're in all these. America's doing all these wars. Don't worry about it. The World Bank says 10% of the world's population lived on less than $1.90 a day in 2015. Down from 11.2% in 2013. Wow! Nowhere in his article does he talk about the 44 richest families in the world have as much wealth as the bottom half and completely fix it. He's not talking about the inequities. No. Why would Mitch want to talk about the inequities? Because he probably has his fingers on the pulse. I mean, he's probably out there talking to real Americans as a former governor and now president of a giant Big Ten university. I wonder what he makes. What do you think Mitch makes? So I did a search engine for Mitch Daniels' salary, and this came up in the Lafayette Journal. West Lafayette, Indiana is where Purdue University is located. So here's what they reported. I'm sorry, I got to move out of the way of this giant number. My head's in the way of the $830,000 a year. I got to get out of screen so you can see. And his salary's up. Well, things are good. Things are looking good for Mitch. Purdue trustees say President Mitch Daniels lived up to 100% of his goals for 17-18, gives him maximum salary available in his contract. Purdue President Mitch Daniels, this came out October 12th, 2018. You can do a search engine on this, and I'll put the link in the show notes. 8% more than he earned the previous year after the university's trustees on Friday gave him 100% of the at-risk portion of his salary. Guys, don't worry about it. Yeah, if you're making $800,000 a year, that's about $70,000 a month. $70,000 a year is a pretty decent salary. If you live in a big city like New York or LA or San Francisco, it's not as great. But that's a pretty decent salary to live on, $70,000 a year. This guy gets it every month. Everyone seems happy in my country club. The guy that washes and cleans my half a dozen luxury cars, he seems happy. I mean, everyone in my gated community is doing great. I don't know what the hullabaloo is all about. You know, the other day I was just riding around with all the guys at the we were just riding our polo horses, and everyone seemed to be, I don't know what everyone was complaining. Everyone was doing great. Things are fine, guys. Things are fine. Yeah, that media blows everything out of proportion. No, the media protects you and lets the Washington Post lets this kind of crap get printed. Democracy dies in the darkness. Wow. I wonder if anyone in West Lafayette, Indiana is having hard times financially. This is what you get to run a university. He's not running Harvard. Purdue. It's an all right school. Big Ten. State school. It's not private. What were his goals? What goals does this guy have to hit? Condescend to people that are struggling in the Washington Post? There's a goal. We'll give you a bonus off of that. I don't have much of a retirement. I lost it when I foreclosed on my home. Thanks to guys like this. And Obama and Bush. Right? Anybody have to crowdfund? You think he's had to crowdfund a medical expense? Mitch? Oh, man. You know, we ride, all my buddies at the yacht club, no one's complaining. Everyone's doing fine. I don't know what's all the hullabaloo. None of my employees complain because they're afraid to lose their jobs and their health benefits. But I don't love everything. Seems great. Boy, the rich are so in touch. They just have their fingers on the pulse of what's going on in America. And then there's the journalists, the news outlets are always holding the rich accountable. That's all at every turn. Fantastic. Thanks for supporting the show, you guys. Since we're all swimming in cash, I guess, everything's so great. Tell you what, in the comment section, everybody tell me how great things are going for you financially. Tell me how great things are going. Anything you've had to deal with, any any things you had, tell me what you had to go with. 22 vets a day commit suicide because of these ridiculous wars overseas. But everything's fine. Every 20 years, we're all gloom and doom, and somebody writes a book and sets us right. The UN's report about, the planet's warming faster than we thought, and we've only got till 2030. Come on, UN. He's fine. When the planet collapses, he'll be dead. He'll be buried with his rolls. Thanks for watching the show. Go to the Patreon to support it. Come out to the Progressive Comedy Tour. Like, subscribe, and share these videos.